If you grew up in the Midwest, you know a 20-acre farm never needed the biggest tractor around. It needed a tractor that would fire up on a cold morning, mow a field, pull a wagon, push a little snow, and still be ready to go again tomorrow. Today, we are counting down 10 vintage tractors that still earn their keep on small American farms. And before we reach number 1, you may hear the one machine that still feels like home to a whole lot of folks across the countryside. Number 10. The Minneapolis-Moline 335. Some tractors just feel like they belong to the Midwest. The Minneapolis-Moline 335 is one of them. It may not be the first name people bring up, but for the folks who knew one, that was never the point. On a 20-acre farm, the 335 simply made sense. It was not a big row crop giant. It was a practical tractor for a smaller place, where the work never really stopped. One week, it might be mowing pasture edges. The next, it could be pulling a light wagon, smoothing out a lane, or helping around the barn before supper. Built from 1956 to 1961, it used a Minneapolis-Moline 165A 2.7-liter four-cylinder gasoline engine. It was rated at 40 engine horsepower, with about 35 horsepower at the PTO. With two-wheel drive, an open operator station, a 5-speed gear drive, or an optional 10-speed 2-speed power shift, the 335 was built for honest work, not attention. It also came with an independent 540 PTO, and that gave it the kind of usefulness smaller farms always appreciated. That is why tractors like this still earn respect. They are simple, dependable, and easy to keep around. Older farmers do not remember the 335 as a collector's piece. They remember it as part of the farm itself, part of the chores, part of the seasons. And that is what this whole list is really about. Not just nostalgia, but usefulness that stayed with people. And the next tractor shows that even a modest utility machine can become one of the handiest workers on the farm. Number 9. The International Harvester 340 Utility. This is exactly the kind of tractor that makes sense on a serious 20-acre farm, while still keeping things simple. You are not covering endless corn ground. You are mowing grass, pulling a small wagon, cleaning up around the barn, smoothing the lane, running an auger, and taking care of the kind of jobs that come back every single week. That is where the 340 utility feels right at home. It was a compact red workhorse that never tried to be more than a farm truly needed. Built from 1958 to 1963, the 340 utility was powered by International Harvester's C-135, a 2.2-liter four-cylinder gasoline engine rated at 47 horsepower. A diesel D-166 was offered later. PTO power was claimed at 35.2 horsepower for the gas version and 40 horsepower for the diesel. That is still the kind of power that makes sense on a smaller Midwest place. It came with a two-wheel drive utility layout, an open operator station, a 5-speed transmission, and an optional torque amplifier for extra flexibility in real farm work. And that is exactly why tractors like this still show up on small farms. And for a lot of older farm families, red paint still means trust, memory, and a machine that was ready when the day started. The 340 utility may not be the most famous tractor on this list, but it absolutely belongs here. And the next tractor is one many folks will find even more familiar, especially if there was a blue one parked by the shed. Number 8. The Ford 2000. The Ford 2000 is one of those tractors that makes perfect sense the moment you picture a real 20-acre Midwest place. Not a giant operation, and not some hobby farm that never really works. Just a modest piece of ground, with fences to fix, grass to mow, a lane to smooth out, and chores that always seem to come back by the end of the week. That is why this tractor fits the story so well. It had enough muscle to matter, but not so much size that it felt out of place. It felt like the kind of machine a smaller farm could truly live with. Built from 1965 to 1975 in its 3-cylinder form, the Ford 2000 was a utility tractor with a simple two-wheel drive layout, an open operator station, and Ford's 3-cylinder engine. Gas and diesel versions were both offered at 158 cubic inches. Nebraska testing put PTO power at about 32 horsepower. Rear lift capacity was listed at around 2,800 pounds. Live PTO was available on some setups, and independent PTO came on selecto speed models. None of that sounds flashy, and that is exactly the point. This tractor was built to do useful work, day after day, not just look impressive sitting still. And that is why tractors in this size class stay active for decades. They handle well. It never begged for attention, but it earned a deep kind of respect. And the next tractor on our list brings a little more weight, a little more authority, and the kind of toughness that made some farmers swear by Case for life. Number 7. The JI Case 530. Some tractors feel like they step forward when the work starts getting a little more serious. And the Case 530 is one of them. On a 20-acre farm, there are days when a lighter machine is enough. And then there are days when you want a little more weight under you, a little more grip, a little more confidence. That is where this tractor earns its place. Whether it is dragging a driveway after a hard rain, pulling a wagon, moving feed, or handling rougher chores around the barn lot, the 530 feels like a machine built to carry its share without making a fuss. Built from 1960 to 1969, the JI Case 530 was a utility tractor with a simple open station, a two-wheel drive layout, and a Case 188.4 cubic inch four-cylinder diesel engine. And at around 4,000 pounds, it had a solid, planted feel on smaller farms. Buyers could get it with several transmission choices, including a 12-speed triple range or the well-known Case-O-Matic setup. And that helped make it a flexible, everyday worker. That is why tractors like this stay around. They are versatile. They solve problems. They may not be the prettiest machine in the shed, and they may not have the fame of some green or red legends. But owners keep them because they still do the job, and the 530 still carries that quiet loyalty. Still, the next tractor has a different kind of appeal, lighter on its feet, easier to love, and remembered by a whole lot of Midwest families. Number 6. The Allis-Chalmers D15. Some tractors get overlooked until a man spends real time on one. The Allis-Chalmers D15 is one of those tractors. On a 20-acre Midwest farm, bigger is not always better. Sometimes, what matters most is a tractor that feels right from the seat, turns easily around the barn, and handles a week of chores without ever feeling too large or too limited. That is where the D15 earned its place. It had enough weight to feel serious, enough agility to stay useful, and enough balance to make life easier on a smaller farm. Built from 1960 to 1968 in West Allis, Wisconsin, the D15 was a two-wheel drive row crop tractor with an open operator station, plus either a 2.4-liter four-cylinder gasoline engine or a 2.9-liter four-cylinder diesel. It offered about 40 PTO horsepower. It also came with live 540 PTO, optional power steering, an 8-speed partial power shift or 4-speed transmission, and Allis-Chalmers snap coupler system. Weighing roughly 3,985 to 4,220 pounds, it felt solid and planted, but never too bulky for a smaller place. That is a big reason the D15 still makes sense today. On smaller Midwest farms, the best tractors are often the ones that can change roles without complaint. And for families who grew up seeing orange paint in the yard, that memory still means something. And the next machine takes us back to red, with a tractor many people still remember as one of the handiest daily workers of its time. Number 5. The International Harvester 444. When people talk about vintage tractors that still do real work, this is exactly the kind of machine they mean. The International Harvester 444 was never built to impress from a distance. It was built to stay useful. On a 20-acre Midwest farm, that matters a whole lot more than size or bragging rights. This is the kind of tractor that feels right at home beside a barn. Hooked to a mower, easing a wagon across the yard, scraping a little snow, or helping with chores that come around in every season. It is not too big for the place, and it is not too light to matter. Built from 1967 to 1971 in Louisville, Kentucky, the IH-444 was a true utility tractor with a two-wheel drive layout, an open operator station, and a 2.5-liter four-cylinder gasoline or diesel engine. It delivered around 42 engine horsepower. Nebraska testing showed about 38 PTO horsepower. It came with a 540 PTO, available live PTO, a Category I 3-point hitch, and open center hydraulics. In plain words, it had the tools a smaller farm needed, and not much that it did not. That balance is a big reason tractors like this are still around. And for many Midwest families, red paint was part of the picture for as long as they can remember. The 444 belongs on this list because it feels like a working man's tractor in the truest sense. But the next tractor may surprise some people because it carries a name that often means more in the Midwest than it does anywhere else. Number 4. The Oliver 550. The mood changes a little when an Oliver shows up on a list like this. And if you grew up in Oliver country, you know exactly what that means. There is a certain Midwest feeling tied to these tractors, and it is hard to explain unless you have lived around them. The Oliver 550 feels right at home on a 20-acre farm. It has enough strength for real work, but it never feels too big for the place. It fits the rhythm of mowing, grading, pulling, hauling, and all the steady little chores that keep a small farm looking like somebody still cares. Built from 1958 to 1975 in Charles City, Iowa, the Oliver 550 was a utility tractor powered by a 155 cubic inch, 2.5-liter Oliver Waukesha 4-cylinder gas or diesel engine. It delivered about 41 PTO horsepower. It used a simple 6-speed gear transmission, and buyers could get a Category I 3-point hitch with independent 540 PTO. With an open operator station and a working weight of roughly 3,070 to 3,730 pounds, it had that balanced, close-to-the-ground feel that makes a tractor easy to live with on smaller acreage. And that is why the 550 lasts. It fits the kind of work smaller Midwest farms actually do. Oliver tractors have a way of making people smile because they are tied to place, to dealers, to neighbors, and to memories that only make sense in certain parts of the country. And yet, the next tractor brings an even broader kind of recognition, the kind that brought green paint into the daily life of countless small farms. Number 3. The John Deere 1020. When people hear John Deere, most of them think of the bigger tractors first. But on a real 20-acre Midwest farm, the 1020 may be the truer story. It is not on this list because it is flashy. It is here because it fits the life of the farm. This is the kind of green tractor that makes sense on a smaller place, where the work is mowing, scraping snow, pulling a wagon, cleaning up around the shed, and taking care of the steady little chores that never make the news, but never go away. The 1020 does not feel too big for that kind of place. It feels like it belongs. Built from 1965 to 1973, the John Deere 1020 was a utility tractor from the new generation line. It came with either a 2.2-liter, 3-cylinder gasoline engine or a 2.5-liter, 3-cylinder diesel. Nebraska testing showed about 38.9 PTO horsepower. With two-wheel drive, an open operator station, hydraulic wet disc brakes, and live or independent PTO depending on the setup, it had the kind of practical design smaller farms could live with for years. That is why the 1020 lasts. John Deere owners tend to keep good tractors a long time, and this one gives them every reason to do it. It is approachable, handy, and easy to keep reaching for. On a smaller farm, that matters more than people sometimes realize. Even so, the next tractor may be the blue machine a lot of viewers expected to see much earlier on this list. Number 2. The Ford 3000. If someone described a vintage tractor still working every week on a 20-acre Midwest farm, a whole lot of people would picture something very close to this. The Ford 3000 just feels right for a place like that. Not too big, not too small, not overcomplicated. Just a steady blue tractor that looks right at home mowing grass, pulling a wagon, running a post-hole digger, scraping snow, or touching up a gravel lane before the rain comes again. Built from 1965 to 1975, the Ford 3000 was a utility tractor with a simple open operator station, a two-wheel drive layout, and Ford's 3-cylinder engine in either 158 cubic inch gasoline form or 175 cubic inch diesel form. Engine output was about 46.7 horsepower. Depending on the setup, buyers could get live PTO or select O-Speed with independent PTO, and that made it even more useful for the kind of daily jobs that never really go away on a small place. That is why the Ford 3000 stayed in service for so long. It was friendly to own, it felt familiar, and it gave older operators a tractor they could still trust, without ever feeling like they were climbing onto more machine than they needed. Across the Midwest, blue tractors like this became part of the view, parked by a shed, easing along a fence row, or heading back in at dusk. The Ford 3000 feels less like a relic and more like a neighbor. But number one is the tractor that may fit this title better than any other machine on the list. Number 1. The Massey Ferguson 135. If this countdown is really about the one vintage tractor that best reflects daily life on a 20-acre Midwest farm, the Massey Ferguson 135 is very hard to beat. It lived in that rare sweet spot, big enough for real work, small enough to stay useful, simple enough to keep going year after year, and familiar enough that many older farmers still remember one clearly. That is why it belongs at number 1. Built from 1964 to 1975, the MF-135 came with several engine options. But the version many people remember best used the Perkins AD 3.152, a 2.5-liter, 3-cylinder diesel. It was rated at around 45 engine horsepower, with about 38 horsepower at the PTO. With its open operator station, 2-wheel drive, live PTO on many versions, and 3-point hitch, it had the kind of practical design that made everyday work easier. And on a 20-acre farm, that matters. A place like that is not built on one giant job. It is built on smaller jobs that keep coming back. Mowing, feeding, lifting, pulling, cleaning up, keeping the place in shape. The MF-135 handled that kind of life beautifully. It just felt right. And maybe that is the best thing anyone can say about a tractor. Older farmers know the value of honest equipment. Not flashy, not oversized, not complicated. Just good iron, doing real work for real people. That is why so many Massey Ferguson 135s are still remembered with real affection, and why so many are still out there doing the job. What makes these tractors special is not just the paint, the sound, or the memories they bring back. On 20 acres, a tractor does not have to be huge to matter. It just has to be dependable, useful, and part of the daily rhythm of the place. That is why tractors like these are still loved across the Midwest. They remind people of family, of hard seasons, and of the kind of work that never stop to ask for praise. Now I would love to hear from you. Which vintage tractor is still earning its keep where you live? And which one do you believe should have made this list? Share your story in the comments.